This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Yo, what's up friends? Welcome back to this video. If you're new here, what's up? My name's Nicole and I make videos on personal finance, investing, self-development, and other fun and interesting stuff. Alright, another highly requested video from you guys. Today, we're talking about the First Stock Exchange Traded Fund. I've mentioned it a couple of times in my videos, in my mutual fund video, in my what I invest in video, and even when I talked about what to do with your first 100,000 pesos. So to make the most out of this video, here's how I plan to structure it. First, we're going to take a moment to talk about what exactly FMETF is. Then, we're going to talk about some of the reasons why you might want to consider investing in FMETF. Then, action is the most important thing. We'll talk about how to invest in FMETF if in case you decide that it's something that you want to invest in. Before we start, I want to emphasize that it's important to do your own research and learn how to think for yourself. When it comes to personal finance and investing, it's super important to really take the moment, the extra effort to learn about these things before putting your money into it. Remember that it's always important to start with the foundation first. Think about your personal finance goals first before doing anything else. Like, take responsibility for your own money decisions. Alright, we good? Right, so let's get straight to the point. The question on everyone's mind. What's a FMETF? Something that I keep stressing in my videos is that it's super important to understand your investments. No matter the money-making potential an investment has, do not put your money in it if you don't understand how it works. So the FMETF, or the FMETF, stands for the First Stock Exchange Traded Fund. From the name itself, it's a fund that's traded on the stock exchange, meaning you can buy and sell shares of it like you would any other stock. Like, let's say, for example, you buy shares of Jollibee in the stock market, you also buy shares of FMETF in the stock market. Exchange-traded funds are pooled funds, which means that the money that they invest is pooled from many different people. Let's say, for example, I invest 5,000 pesos in an FMETF. You invest 5,000, your friend invests 10,000, my friend invests 20,000. So all of that money is pooled together, and then the fund managers use that money to buy individual stocks. So there are so many ETFs available around the world. In the US, there's about 2,000 available ETFs in their market. But here in the Philippines, the only ETF available is the FMETF. The FMETF is an index fund, which means that it tracks the performance of our one and only index, the PSEi. So if the PSEi go up, FMETF go up. If it go down, it goes down. The PSEi is composed of the top 30 companies here in the Philippines, so that includes Jollibee, Meralco, SM, Ayala Land, etc. So when you're investing in the FMETF, you're essentially investing in these top 30 companies. Wow, bigatin. I say this with air quotes because when you're investing in the fund, it doesn't mean that you actually own the underlying stock. So you own shares of the fund, you own shares of FMETF, and FMETF owns shares of the companies. You don't directly own the stocks, alright? Just to make it clear. So just to show you guys, this is posted on their website. This is a side-by-side comparison of the composition of the FMETF and the PSEi. Not exactly the same, but almost the same because, you know, the FMETF still has to keep some cash reserves on the side. But yeah, this is as close as you can get to tracking the PSEi. Alright, gets ka na, but how exactly do you earn from FMETF? Paano ba kumikita dyan? I mentioned in one of my previous videos that the two main ways you earn from investing is from 1, capital appreciation, and 2, from dividends. So for FMETF, you mostly earn from capital appreciation. Right, so capital appreciation, let's say for example, you buy 90 pesos per share of FMETF, and then it rises to 100 pesos, and then you sell it. There, congrats, you have made money. Capital appreciation. You might be wondering, what about the dividends that the FMETF receives from the companies? So something to note is that the FMETF doesn't give out cash dividends. So apparently the FMETF used to give stock dividends, but now most of the time they just reinvest the dividends that they receive back into the fund. So I noticed that I get some comments asking me how much is the minimum pay-in and then how much is the payout after how many months. Like, this is not a paluwagan, that's not how an investment works. For the FMETF or with any other stock investment, you're not required to purchase a minimum amount every single month. How many shares you buy and how often you buy is really up to you and your budget. And also something else to keep in mind is that past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. Just because a stock has been booming the previous years doesn't mean it's going to continue booming in the next few years. No one knows for sure how the market is going to perform in the future. Say for example, what happened last year when the market crashed during the pandemic. No one could have predicted that. But yeah, as a consolation, especially when you're investing in the long term, if you look at the big picture, 10 years, 15 years down the line, markets usually tend to trend upwards. The PSEi naman is meant to be a representation of the Philippine economy because it tracks the top 30 companies, right? So if you're confident in the growth of a certain economy, specifically the Philippine economy, then by all means invest in the FMETF. Right, now that we kind of understand what FMETF is, let's now go over some of the reasons why you might want to consider investing in the FMETF. Number 1, cost-efficient diversification. Costa what? So, an important principle when investing is to lessen your risk through diversification. So what that essentially means is to not put all of your eggs in one basket. Like let's say for example, you have 100,000 pesos to invest. Instead of putting all of that money in just one stock, you invest it in a couple of stocks, in a couple of investments, so as to manage your risk. You do that so that, for example, one of your investments happened to go downhill, your other investments still got your back. Okay pa rin yung mga iba. Diversification. It's cost efficient because by owning just one stock, the FMETF, you're already diversified into 30 different companies. Like let's say, for example, you only have 10,000 pesos to invest. As opposed to just investing in one stock with the 10,000 pesos, you can just invest in the FMETF. That's already spread out to 30 companies. Number 2, the FMETF can be bought and sold like a stock. So you can buy and sell FMETF real time, and you can also set the price that you want to buy it at. As opposed to mutual funds, but there's usually a cutoff period when you can place orders, and you won't know the price of the fund until after the trading day. Number 3, it has low fees. It has the lowest management fee out of all the index funds here in the Philippines. It's about 0.5% management fees, and this is much lower as compared to the fees of the UITFs and the mutual funds that ranged from about 1 to 2.5%. So this is important to note because mutual fund index funds and the FMETF essentially do the same thing. They track the PSEi. So when picking an index fund to invest in, it's important to pick one that tracks an index as close as possible and does it for as cheap as possible. So for FMETF, the tracking error is 0.04% and the management fees nga is about 0.5% plus the other fees associated with buying and selling a stock. Here's a table so you can see the fees. Okay na Nicole, FMETF much cool. I want to invest, I really do, but what if I don't have any money to invest? Something that I mention a lot in my videos is that you really need to figure out what it is you need to do in order to get you the things that you want. I believe that the internet really has made it a lot easier for us to find ways to make extra money. You just need to do the extra work. You can start a small business, you can learn a skill, and then start selling a service. While it's important to find ways to make your money grow through investments, I think it's even more important to find ways to invest in yourself. And one of the ways that you can do that is through this video sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes covering a lot of exciting topics like graphic design, business, productivity, and even web development. There's so many skills to choose from. You can learn logo design, marketing, branding, like everything's here so you can start learning skills that you can monetize and use to start a side hustle or even a small business. One of my life principles is to never stop learning, so I'm personally dedicating a lot of my time this year to really working on my skills and developing myself as a person. Membership is super affordable because you already get access to so many classes for only less than $10 a month. And you know what's even better? Skillshare hooked us up. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a free trial of a premium membership. Yes! Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. It started raining, I'm so sorry for the noise if you can hear it. Action time! Let's talk about how to invest in the FMETF. Right, because it's an exchange-traded fund, it means that you need to have a stock brokerage account to be able to buy and sell FMETF. The usual requirements in opening a stock brokerage account is just a valid ID and then your TIN. If you're a student or if you're unemployed, you don't have a TIN yet, as long as you're above 18 years old, you can actually get the TIN na under EO 98. So just go to your RDO and then get the form 1904. So if you're still a minor or if you're a parent watching and you want to open an account for your kid, then you can open an ITF account. This is called an Interest For account. Essentially, this uses the parent's TIN, and then once your kid or once you turn 18 years old, the account becomes yours. Now that you have a stock brokerage account, you can go and buy your first FMETF shares. Very simple, you just have to go to your exchange and then enter the buy order during market hours. And then put the price you want to buy it at and then the quantity of shares. You only get your shares if ever your buy order gets matched with the sell order. Like let's say for example, I want to buy it at 90 pesos, someone has to be willing to sell it to you for 90 pesos. It's not like you place an order 90 pesos but then the stock is currently trading at 100 pesos, you have to wait for the price to go down. So for the FMETF, the minimum board lot is 10, which means that 10 is the minimum number of shares you can buy. So in 10 share increments, so you can buy 10 shares, 20 shares, 30 shares, 40 shares. So in actuality, you can already own FMETF just by buying 10 shares. What's the price right now? 106. So mga 1,060 pesos. You can already own FMETF. Just know that if the value of what you're buying is less than 8,000 pesos, then know that you're paying 20 pesos commission for every trade. It's up to you whether or not this amount is a big deal, but honestly, if it's the long run, it shouldn't matter too much. If you really want to follow the 8K rule, then you can opt to invest in the fund quarterly, semi-annually. It depends on you. Just work on building the 8,000 for every transaction. Right, so now for some of my thoughts when it comes to FMETF. So FMETF is more or less a boring investment. Don't get me wrong, it's still a risky investment. It's still equities, no? But some people, kasi, diba, you get so excited na, I'm opening my stock brokerage account. I'm going to buy FMETF shares. But then once you put your money into it, there's nothing else that you can do except to wait. No, like wait for it to grow in the long term. So because I'm investing for the long run, long-term investment, right? My only focus is to buy consistently. So my strategy when it comes to FMETF is to peso cost average. So that means no matter the price of the fund, I will buy regularly. So I do this by automatically scheduling the buy orders through Call Financial. They have this easy investment program kasi. So something that I learned, the way to make progress with anything is just to be consistent. When tracking your personal finances, when investing, just be consistent. Don't worry too much about the amount. You might be saving just 500 pesos every month, but then if you do it consistently over a long period of time, it's going to grow eventually. I think that it's a better use of your time to really find ways to increase your income earning potential, to increase your capital, as opposed to hunting for the investments that can give you the largest gains. You feel? Yeah. So this is why I just automatically schedule my FMETF investments. Right, so the first featured comment is by Ali May. She says that she really appreciates the Excel skills to learn before the actual creation of the spreadsheet. So in the previous video, I made a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a personal finance spreadsheet to track your expenses and your investments. I really think it's important with anything that you do to learn the fundamental things first, because once you master those fundamental basic skills, then you can essentially mix and match it to get the result that you want. But also when I talk about personal finance and investing, I think it's important to understand the basic concept first, like the core principles, and then those core principles will be able to guide your personal finance decision making afterwards, if that makes sense. Then the next comment is by, "You're my first favorite blogger, Nicole. Thank you! Congrats on your 100K subs. Thank you for teaching and inspiring both Gen Zs and millennials about financial literacy and self-development." This is so wholesome. Thank you. I feel so... When I make my videos, I'm just alone in my room. I'm just talking to the camera, often stuttering. But it's crazy to think how many people my videos are reaching. And yeah, like, it's a weird feeling, but it's great that you guys are getting value from my videos. You guys can follow me on Instagram. I post stories there almost every day. Like the Facebook page, join the Discord server. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.